The new publication on scientific reports is actually the results of extensive work we have performed in the last 5 to 6 years, trying to define the flux of copper metal, during the Neolithic or Copper Age in northern Italy, essentially. There were persisting ambiguities in the definition of the provenance of the copper, and I think the big surprise came when we actually discovered a few years ago that the Iceman axe found close to the boundary of Austria was made of Tuscany copper. This result was really opening a new window in ancient metallurgy, and a lot of people actually met with skepticism this early result. Now, to resolve and define much better what happened with ancient metallurgy in Italy during the 4th and the 3rd millennium before C, which is the extension of the Copper Age in northern Italy, what we did is to reanalyze about 50 different objects, all of them very important from the archaeological point of view, mainly copper axes, but also some awls and small implements, and to investigate in detail the provenance of the copper in all of the objects. Now, one of the major problems is that very few of the existing objects have been excavated and very well dated chronologically by radiocarbon or other techniques. One example is again Ötzi axe, where the wooden handle still sticking to the copper, allows direct radiocarbon dating of the metal. In most of the other cases, the objects are being typologically characterized, and of course the typological definition is dubious sometimes, or at least subject to discussion. Now, what we did is to anchor the well-defined objects chronologically to the provenance that we defined on the basis of lead isotopes, and then redefine the chronological and provenance distribution of all the other objects on the basis of the results. What we found is definitely a new model for the ancient introduction of copper in the region, and what we think is that every object that is found in northern Italy down to central Italy in the late Neolithic, meaning the end of the 5th millennium, the first part of the 4th millennium, is coming from the Balkans. So mainly Bulgaria and Serbia, but basically there is no copper production before the middle of this millennium in Italy. Then, with the Rinaldone and Remedello cultures, about 3600, 3500 before Christ, there is the starting of copper production in Tuscany. Virtually all the objects belonging to the second part of the millennium and the early part of the 3rd millennium is basically produced in Tuscany. And Tuscanian copper flows all around central Italy. We think to the south, but we have very little evidence at the moment, and definitely across the Apennines, the Po River, and the whole Alpine range. We also have, there are at least 3 objects analyzed with Tuscanian copper. It's the axe found near the boundary of Austria. There is another axe found in Switzerland, and very recently the publication of another object in the south of France. So Tuscanian copper was really the metal flowing in the whole region. And then finally, with this work, we define when the Alpine copper was starting to be exploited. And we think it's just at the same time or slightly before what is called the Beaker event, which is linked to the Beaker culture, and it's around the mid of the 3rd millennium, and definitely we have evidence of the Alpine copper flowing around and being distributed all over and replacing Tuscanian copper.